Hey, welcome to the Huntsville Hustle Podcast. We're going to highlight the people and business that make Huntsville thrive. Today, my guest is Brian Robson, a.k.a. B-Rob. You may have heard him. He's a leadership performance coach. He helps high-achieving entrepreneurs and professionals kind of break through the overwhelm and operate on that kind of clarity, confidence, purpose. That's what they're looking for. My personal opinion, I love his approach because he helps leaders lead themselves before they lead anybody else. So I think that's kind of what separates him. So, Brian, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. First of all, man, everybody look at his hat. If you're watching the video, the hat matches the jacket. That's also the trademark. You're very branded with that. Yeah, that's strong. So let's take it way back, man. What inspired you to start your own business?
Yeah. So ever since I was little, I had the entrepreneurial bug. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. And so, there's a lot there to unpack, but I spent some time living with my grandmother around the third grade. And she had this, where she lived in Appomattox, Virginia, where the Civil War ended. There was this little country store. And so I would walk to that country store. I would ask them if I could sweep the parking lot, do little jobs, and I'm a third grader at this point, and they would pay me a few dollars. And I would go in that store and I would buy this 3-cent bubble gum. And then the next day when I go to school, I would sell it at school. And so it became a thing. And I'm like, oh, wow, I could, and so that became bigger. And I started asking for my grandmother if I could do little jobs, and she would want to reward me, cleaning the house and cleaning the yard and things like that. And when she would ask me, what did I want for the reward? I would ask her, just bring me back a bag of candy. And she would bring it back to me, and I would go to school and I would sell it. And that's how it started. And it was just this thing where I was just always interested in business from that aspect.
Wow. See me, man, I'd be like, well, I'm just not going to do any work and I won't have any candy. I'll take both, man. I'm going to be lazy, but no candy. I'll just take that. So yeah, man, that started, I think that's very common for entrepreneurs, though, that they were selling candy bars on the bus. It goes way back, pencils or whatever it is. I see that a lot with the people that are small business people just from the jump. So
yeah,
that's cool, man. But if you had some other experiences along the way that kind of shaped your career, what were kind of some of those prior to being your own coach kind of deal?
Yeah, absolutely. And throughout life, of course, some of us don't feel like, or maybe, we just didn't have the mindset of the belief that we could get into entrepreneurship for some reason. You hit some walls and you turn away and go in another direction. So that was me. So I thought the way for abundance was maybe I'll go to college, and get an education. And so throughout life, it was like, hey, I had to go get a job. And I tried to quench that entrepreneur spirit through different jobs. But it was always there. So I found myself starting side businesses, but at the same, then that's competing with my time and with time at work and time with family and friends and things like that. And so, those side businesses never really gave it the full, just everything that it needed, full energy that it needed to make it grow bigger than my main job. And so throughout life, throughout college and military and all the things in between, I always had this thing where I got this feedback from people in different environments about how they would come talk with me. And I was very introverted at the time and a little more on the shy side. So, and just because you're introverted doesn't mean you're shy. I think you and I have talked about that, right? It's how you recharge, which I think you and I both, we recharge by ourselves, right? We like to recharge alone. Then we go to others and pour out. Well, I was also a little shy, but people would come and talk with me and I was asking them questions based on what they would tell me. And I was just very interested in what they were saying. And so that led into more and more people just bringing me, their things, whatever that was. And that started leading me into, man, there might be something here. And I thought counseling was what that would be. Man, I could be a counselor. So I ended up finishing school with a bachelor's in IT for my undergrad. And it wasn't until years later that I went back and I got a master's in Christian leadership and then an MBA. But in between my 2 master's degrees, I took some counseling classes. And I realized through those courses that for my personality and for what inspires me, I would rather walk with someone to something that they feel is something better for them than to unpack something from the past and maybe some traumas and things like that. And so I'm very empathetic. And so that I would carry that with me. And I realized that through my experiences. So all that together kind of is what led me to start looking at coaching. And from the time that I started looking at it as an option to the time I actually launched my business was probably about 7 years. So it was 7 years of, should I do this? Should I not do this? Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should just work just keep working a 9 to 5. And I think something else too that led me to this is I realized about myself, and this leads into how this applies to my clients that I meet with, my one-on-one clients. I realized something about myself is I was always fascinated with documentaries, and I love. When I was in the military, I would go TDY, and as soon as I hit the hotel room, I would put it on the History Channel, and I just loved just the way that those documentaries on the History Channel will be put together. And the story, the reason why that documentary is interesting is because of all the little things in the past that made it what it was to be interesting to us. So realizing that about myself, realizing that I was very inspired to walk with people to something better. And those together is what led me to coaching. And I implement those in my sessions.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing how you got kind of your life path puts you where you're supposed to be. You kind of figure out,
Absolutely.
oh man, I'm with you, man. I couldn't carry that all day long. You hear some horrific things, and man, you got to live with that. And I respect the people that can do that, but man, I'm with you. I would wear that all day, every day. I don't think I can handle it. So, but
Absolutely.
man, you do pretty good at it. I don't know if you guys know about B Rob, but he's been pretty successful. So we're going to kind of get into kind of some of the things you do that make you so valuable to your clients. So what's
Absolutely.
kind of a mindset shift that helps people that, people come to you and that I just feel stuck in my business. What's kind of one mindset shift you like to help them with?
Yeah. So really them looking at within themselves. So, and it's almost like clarity is kind of like a buzzword right now. So I know it's a thing, but you have to ask yourself, like, what does it mean? What does clarity really mean? And for me and my clients, clarity means that we look at a lot of different areas and we prioritize the areas we have to look in to get clear. I love working, I'm a business and leadership coach. So as I work with my entrepreneurs, whether it's solopreneurs or even startups or even those that are doing multi-millions, as I sit and work with them, it's like it almost like I go back to that fascination with documentaries, and I sit with my clients and I get curious about them and about the thing that they're coming to me for, and we get clear on where is it that you want, like what's better than right now for you, like what is unstuck for you, and then like what's reality for you also, and then what are the other things that are important too that we should know about. So I ask questions about all that and bring it all together. And then the path that we actually start taking action on is the path that's right for them. So they actually will start taking action, the appropriate action for them. It may not be the path that I would personally choose, but it's the right path for them. Then I support them and hold them accountable to that path.
I think that's 90% of most people do is that accountability piece. Most people they can kind of figure out maybe a path like a beyond, but they need someone to kind of walk with them. And that's what you do. You're so good about that. So when you do work with these clients, you kind of sit down, you kind of get started getting clear. How do you help them define what success looks like for them? I know it's different for everybody. How do you help them kind of figure that out? Because most people are like, I just want to make more money. Like, well, let's figure out what that looks like for you.
Absolutely. And sometimes first it takes patience, right? Because I have to hold me back. And one of the things I think that is a gift of mine is I can meet people and I see like potential, right? And it's gotten me in trouble in the past because I would have friends and I see their potential, and immediately in my head I hold them to that potential, but they're not ready for that yet. So my expectations of them are higher than their expectations for themselves, and that would cause disappointment. But going back to the client, it's really me holding that space and being patient, and then really just asking them. One of the things I ask all my clients is, by the end of this session, when you walk out of those doors in 45 minutes from now, what would right look like for you? What would success look like for you? And they would say whatever they say, right? And so now I have what they want to get to. And a lot of times there's other questions, of course, that I would ask with that to get clear, right? And that's where the details really come into play, is really asking the right questions, being patient and let them answer, and let them think about it and let the external processing happen. I love having a place where my clients can come to and they can just externally process, and it's all about them. And I'm listening, and just looking for patterns, looking for things, doing active listening, right? In order to show them some things. Hey, you mentioned this 3 times. So why do you think you would mention that 3 times? things like that. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, that's important to me. Yeah. Have you publicly said that before? And so success looks different. I have some clients that they don't want to grow any more revenue. Right. And then I have clients that want to grow a lot of revenue. And so those things look different. And for me as a coach, it's like, yeah, what is going forward, steps forward? I can come in and say, well, if you start working with me and I double your revenue, then that's success. But you might say, I don't want to grow, I don't want to double my revenue. I just want to harmonize what I have. And success for me is being content with what I already have. So it's really letting them define what it is, me stepping into their world a lot, and then really walking with them in their world.
And that's it, because a lot of people, they don't tell you before you become an entrepreneur, it's kind of lonely. I mean, you can kind of feel isolated, like even when you're around people, because they're just, you've got all the headaches, you're in charge of all these things. And not everyone speaks your language. So how do you kind of help people navigate that isolation?
Yeah, it's really just using a lot of empathy, right? And it's using that empathy of man, I want to really, as much as I can, feel where you are. And I never use the terms like I understand you, because I can't say I can fully understand you because I'm not you, but I try to get as close as I can, and so really helping them not be lonely is to get a good understanding of them, and then us together through conversation, through the coaching process, like what is the right community for you? What does that look like? What are the attributes that you need of that community? And really just to back up a little bit with clarity is having vision and values, right? Those are like the two things that I really try to gather with my potential clients, and then for my clients is what's your vision like, and let's get some details on what that really looks like, and then what are your values, because we use those things to make decisions. And so when there becomes a fork in the road, we look back, well, is this direction where you're headed, and does this align with your values, or is this direction more of where you're headed, and does this align with your values? And a lot of decision making is made when you bring those into play. And my clients feel like that, wow, I have the tools to now make a decision. But we do that same thing with their community. Like, who do you need to be around and associate yourself with so that you don't feel lonely? And it's like that. I think it's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Right. And so, yeah, you can go fast alone, but at some point you're going to hit an obstacle, and you're going to be in your own mind, and you're going to be telling yourself all the negative things, right? When you hit that obstacle, and you're going to be questioning who you are. And if you know that about yourself, but you also know your strengths, and then you know what you need in a partner or partners or community, then you can put yourself in the right community. And now you go further, because when you hit that obstacle, your community is like, hey man, hey, you got this. You remember when you did this? And me as a coach, I love getting curious about my clients. And when I do that, they tell me something about their past, and they might come back later in a coaching session and say, well, I can't, I have a hard time casting vision, or I have a hard time planning. And I say, correct me if I'm wrong, but did I hear you told me this story? And you remember that story? Am I wrong? And they were like, oh yeah, I can't believe you remembered that. Yeah, what you did there is you actually cast a vision there, and here's how. So that inspiration becomes, I use their own experience to show them that that same thing, that same Joe is who you need to show up as right now. So it's not necessarily me as a cheerleader. You can do this, Joe. Believe in yourself, and you're great. It's like, hey, Joe, here's where you've done that before, and how can I help you tap into that, Joe, so you can get through this obstacle?
Yeah. I mean, we forget how awesome we are sometimes, because we're handling all the things. We're doing all the things, right? And you forget, oh my gosh, I remember I grew this business, from 0 to 500,000 a year, whatever it was, man. And then you forget because you're in the day to day. So someone like yourself can come in and like, hey, man, here's the evidence. You've done it before. You can do it
Absolutely.
again. And I'll give you the tools to get there. So I think that's so valuable. Just your listening is huge. I think a lot of people don't feel heard in this world, and especially at the top, when you're doing a lot of the talking, they don't have to do as much listening. So to have someone in their life, so we all need a coach. So if you don't have a coach, you need one. I'm just telling you. There's someone who went years without one and then got one. It's night and day. So you kind of mentioned, going through tough times, business owners going through tough times. Well, you yourself are a business owner. So how do you personally handle those tough seasons or moments and moments of doubt in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely there. And this is a great question. Thank you for this question, because I think people can see, and especially me, I know this about myself is I don't like to be a burden to anyone. So I show up happy. I'm authentic. I'm authentically happy, but I may not just share some of the deep struggles with. And that's one way I'm challenging myself, is to share more of that. So thank you for this question. Man, I'm a believer. And so that's where I go to first. And I think maybe even that statement is maybe not true. So let me tell myself, there's times where I've had doubt and fear have crept in. And then when I realize that's what I'm feeling, then I pray. So I believe that, like, my faith has never been stronger as me stepping out on my own into my own business, right? And having a family that relies on my paycheck, right? That the business that I'm bringing in. So yeah, man, I go to God with it. And I talk to him a lot, and so I believe that that's where I go to first. And I understand that there might be some listening that they're not aligned with that. And there's no judgment or condemnation on my part for that. But the question was, how do I handle it? And that's how I handle it. And I'm okay with telling people that, so I go there first. I don't just stay there. And like I said, I talk to God a lot, and I don't see where God tells me to just, he doesn't tell me to not do anything. Right. And maybe he tells others, whatever God's telling you, listen to that. Don't listen to Brian, listen to that first. But for me, he might tell me to be still with my anxiety and with my worries and with my fear, but he doesn't tell me to be still with just not doing something. And so I go to him, and then I look for what I need to go do next. And that is how I get through it.
Hey, it's another African proverb: pray, but move your feet. All right,
yes,
pray,
I love it. Thank you for that.
You gotta do something about it, right? So,
absolutely,
like myself, man, you're a big habits guy. So, what are a few daily habits that you believe drive that long term success? Not just like that flash in the pan, but that long term success. What are some daily habits people can do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I do is and again, this is my question. So this is what I do. I'm not saying that this is what the person, when you're watching this is what you should do. First thing I do is, when my alarm goes off, if my wife is awake, I tell her good morning. I greet her, and then I open up a New Testament scripture, and I take in one chapter of the New Testament. And what that does for me is, the way I see it is, and I believe the whole Bible is true. The Old Testament shows us our need for God, what life is like, without God. And then the New Testament, to me, shows me how to live like Christ. So I greet my wife, and then I take in my instructions on how I need to live like Christ for that day. And then I go to the gym, and then I get to work right after that.
There you go. You guys got to see this dude in person. He's a giant. Don't let the screen fool you, man. He is a giant, a gentle giant, man. He's the nicest dude in the world. Good thing too, because he is massive. So he stays in the gym, and he knows what he's doing in there. So, and if you ever see him in there, he'll help you out too. He knows what he's doing. He'll help you out. So, burnout's a big thing with entrepreneurs, obviously. So we want to stay ambitious. We want to stay getting after it. But how do we stay getting after it but avoid burning out?
Yeah. So I think with this, really, it goes into being clear on where you're going, right? And this is really hard for entrepreneurs. It's hard for me. You just said I'm a big guy. I'm 6'5", 300 pounds. And I used to be really skinny, and I was really insecure about it. Really insecure. So people would, when I graduated high school, I was 6'5", 185 pounds. And I just didn't like it. And that pain made me move. And so what I did, it took me a few years to figure it out. But when I joined the military, I just started going to the gym And that became the way that I was putting in action to get myself in a place to where I wasn't skinny anymore. And I set a vision, like I wanted to be the same size as Lou Ferrigno, who was 6'5", and I can't remember the weight at the time, but I wanted to be. That's what I was looking at. That's what I visualized, but me, right? And I'm like, I want to be him, but I want to do it, not inferring that he's done anything illegal or anything, but I want to do it the right way. I want to do it natural, but I'm going to put in the work because I want to do that. And where this comes back to answering the question is, when I did that, I had to know that's the lane I'm going, and all my actions are going to support that. And so when my friends were like want to go out, and that included maybe being in a place where there's alcohol and things like that. I don't want to say I never went out and did that, but my first thought was, well, if I do that, then what's going to happen? Like if I go out, then I'm going to stay up late, which means I'm going to get up late, and I'm going to miss my morning workout, which means it's going to throw me off from my goal of where I want to get to, which is to be bigger. And so I take that now, and I have that same focus and dedication with whatever I get into. So I say no to a lot of things, and I say no to those things, and I say no to people calling me at a certain time, or people texting me at a certain time. And I love them and I care about them, but I have to protect where I'm going, because if I'm overwhelmed and I pick up the phone and I'm on the phone with you, but I'm overwhelmed, how much of you are you really getting? How much of the good Brian are you getting? So I look at that, and I look at my business is in place to serve people. I love being a coach because I get to be a part of someone's life getting better, and that person's life is affecting other lives. So if they have a better life, then other lives are getting better. And that's important to me. So if I say yes to this thing that's going to distract me from that, then I'm letting them down. And that's the mentality I go to. That keeps me clinging like a bulldog to something. And of course, it's been hard because I've increased distance with some friends and some people that I really care about, but I have to go this way because there's a bigger vision that I have for how I show up in the world and who I serve. And you're welcome to come with me, but if you're not going with me, I'm not going to go. I just can't go your way, And so
Yeah.
I maintain the harmony, and I decrease the overwhelm in my life.
Hey, everybody, if you're listening, when he talked about the vision and values, he's practicing what he's preaching. Look at that. Amazing, right? What he says, hey, he doesn't just tell his clients to do one thing and do another. He's doing exactly what he tells his clients to do. And that's what true coaches do. I mean, that's it. So when you look back, was there, a failure in your journey that taught you a lesson that you pass on to your clients now?
Absolutely. There's a really good friend of mine, man, and I think he's going to be joining my business here soon, maybe in the next year or so. He was the guy I would go to every time I had a business idea. I would go to him, and we would get started, and I wouldn't lock in, and then it would just fade away, and then I would come up with this other idea, and it would fade away. And when I started this business, no, actually before that, my last business that I started before this business, he said, "Is this the one? Like you keep coming up with this stuff, and you keep bringing." And my wife was part of that. So you keep bringing us in, and then and so you kind of string us along, and that was some really good advice. And I want to say that not having that clarity and not really dialing into that, I think there were some failures there because I just jumped in, didn't fully think about it, all the things, or it got to the hard part, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to change and I'm going to go over here. And I think not being consistent was a failure, but I'm thankful for it because him telling me that, my wife, of course, telling me that. And when I started this business, I was very consistent. I'm like, I am not going to, I made some adjustments as I got feedback from my clients. You take the step and then you get data back and you figure out what you do with it, but you still keep moving on that. And so it was one of those things where, yeah, man, I had failures by not being 100% in. And so now I'm like, I try my best to not volunteer for something and not commit to something that I can't commit to, because I don't like not being able to commit when I say I will.
That's it. Yeah, when I started my business part time, just on the side, working another couple full time jobs, and when I quit both of those, man, you better believe I went all in then, right? So when you're forced to go all
Absolutely.
in, it's amazing what happens then when you're like, okay, man, I got to make this work. So desperation will create that hustle for sure.
Absolutely.
So man, when you look back, I know you love what you do, but every job can become kind of a grind sometimes. What's kind of a story throughout the years of someone you've worked with that still keeps you motivated to this day?
Yeah, man, there's quite a few of them. I have one client right now, that a young guy, like he just turned 23 actually. And he came to me, and his first big moment that he wanted to have clarity on was, he had started this side business, but he was working, and he was like, I think I want to go all in on this, but I'm not sure. And of course, me being an entrepreneur, I'm like, man, go all in. But no, I didn't say that to him. This is me having to hold. I'm like, oh, I just want to tell him. But so I held that, and I would just ask him questions. I'm like, hey, so tell me a little bit about, like tell me about going all in. What would that look like? And tell me, like, if you didn't do it, what would that look like? And what would life look like if you did both? And as we kept exploring, it took him about 2 weeks, and he said, man, I think I'm gonna quit. So he did. And I actually have a video. I haven't put it out yet, but he actually made me a testimonial. Man, he quit, and within 3 months of on his own, he had doubled his income. Like he was tracking like six figures 3 months in. And I'm just like, I mean, he actually was doing more. I mean, he was doing 11K by March of this year, and it's like, wow. And he only made like 48K in his job, So, and I'm like, man, he's young. He saw to hire a coach, and we like to, I'm middle aged, and so sometimes us middle agers are like, man, these young guys, these young people, you know they don't they don't have this, and they don't do this or whatever. But here's an example of a young guy that's like, I want to get a coach because I want to go do something, and I'm gonna get a coach to help me figure it out. But he actually did the work. Like, he walked it out. So the 11K that he did, or over 10K that he did by March, was him. I mean, because he did the work to make it happen. But he did make his meetings with me every week, and that's one of the success stories that come to mind.
Man, wise beyond his years, man. I was
Absolutely.
not hiring coach at that age. I wish I had. Man, I'd be so far ahead right now. But
I
yeah,
know,
kudos to
right?
him, man, for having the wisdom at that age to reach out and then also listen to the coaching. It takes two parts, right? Not just sitting in there,
Absolutely.
but actually following through. So, man, when you kind of look back, I know you're a big picture guy. So you look at your coaching work. What's a legacy you want to leave with your work?
Yeah. My legacy I want to leave is really to show up excellent, like whatever that looks like for me. And that's another thing too, that anyone around me, whether you coach me or not, I want to challenge you on, what does excellent look like for you? Not perfect, because me as a believer, there's only only Jesus Christ was perfect. The only perfect being to walk to earth. But we can be excellent. And I think coaching, I think I was made for this. And there's been, all the years of doing this, there's been challenges, but those challenges have been, I was Air Force Special Operations, and so there's times I have to go. I have my beret, like a plaque with my beret on it right behind me here, and sometimes I have to look at that and say, all right, I've done way worse, right? But it's one of those things where I really just, anyone who I've come in contact with, I want to have been a part of their process of making their lives better. And it's challenge myself on that. I don't want it to be something that, like, where I can puff my chest out. I really fight that. I don't think it's not that. It's that I believe I have the gifting to come alongside someone and then walk with them, and their life is better. And again, we're walking together, not, you're walking and I'm standing back yelling at you, not that kind of thing, but we're walking together. And I think those relationships, and to leave that impact of community, good community, where we can show up and really love each other in all the ways that means. But that's what I want, man. And I want my business to be a testimony to people in multiple ways, from the service provided with coaching to the people who interact with my business in other ways, like you and me. And also for my employees internally, also, I want it to be one of the best experiences they've ever had. And I want it to be something that's fruitful for them. They leave, whoever they go out and interact with, they're bringing that fountain energy to them. So that's what I want to be. I want to be a fountain.
Hey man, anyone that's interacted with you, I think they backed that one up. I think you're pretty solid on those, man. I know for sure that even before I met you, man, I had several people telling me all about you, and I'm like, man, I got to meet that guy. And then guess what? You met expectations and exceeded them. So man, you're making it happen. So before I let you go, man, I got to hit you with the rapid fire ones, man. Are you mentally prepared for the rapid fire?
I don't know if I am.
We're about to find out. So get that beret out and get ready. What's your go-to productivity tool or system you like to go to?
A Google Workspace.
What's your biggest gym pet peeve?
It has to be people on their phones, like sitting on whatever equipment or bench or whatever, and they're just on their phones or watching a video or whatever, and they're on there for an extended amount of time. Yeah, don't like that.
Yeah, there needs to be an ejection seat on those after
Absolutely.
a certain time.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm going to talk to the gym owner, so we'll see. What's your favorite local restaurant or coffee shop?
Ooh, local. Does it have to be Huntsville, Madison, anywhere?
Wherever you go, Huntsville, Madison, anywhere in this area.
Okay, well, man, I actually coach Valentina's, and so I have to say Valentina's all the way.
Okay, award-winning pizza out there. So
absolutely.
What's the most impactful book you've read recently?
Man, it's going to sound cliche. Of course, it's the Bible, Romans. Man, I love Romans. If we're talking non-biblical, I want to say 10X is easier than 2X. That book had me just looking at myself. And actually through that book, I realized there's ways I have 10X. And really the premise of it is setting that vision and that challenging goal to where you have to transform into something else something else better, of course, in order to obtain it. So that book I love that one.
Man, that's the way I was thinking about that book this morning. Here's a weird transition for you right here, man. So I was cooking some eggs this morning, right? And my wife asked if I cook a few extra because she wanted to do something. So I was like, it's just as easy to cook 10 of these eggs as it is to cook like 2 of them, right? It's the same deal. Like the whole process is the same. Just while you got it in there, it's easier to just keep going with the 10 eggs. That's so weird that came up. So anyway, I'm messing up the rapid fire format, but that was just weird. So what's one quote that you live by?
One quote that I live by: love God and love others.
That's a solid one right there. Yeah. Now, if you could collaborate with one local leader, who would it be?
You.
Let's do it.
You, man.
I'm in. I don't know what we're doing, but let's do it
right now.
Yeah. Oh, man. I got to get me a branded hat and sport coat, and then we'll hang out.
Let's do it.
Maybe I'll get a green one or something. So, and
hey, you want to see what I look? You want to see what I look like without my hat?
Bring it out. Let's see. You as shiny as me?
I have to now the way I take my hat off, I'm gonna have to like cover the mic up. I can't let you see that, but I can let you see after that. You want to see it?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, give me a second. Let me take my hat off. I can't show this to the others.
I wasn't ready, man.
You weren't ready for it?
You brought props. I didn't know you were bringing props to the table.
Yeah, this is why I wear a hat.
You got to keep it under control. Okay, I get it, man. That is actually a really good look for you. Yeah, man. That's actually a very good look for you. I think you ought to rock that more often, man. Dang, you came prepared. And then I got 2 questions. The last one is, when does the next rap album come out? That's what the people want to know.
Man,
that's what the people want to know. All right, that's a deep cut. People got to go look that one up. He's got many talents. So you can look up his Christian rap album.
Oh man, wow! Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, old school, man.
I don't know. It's been like 10 years since I released the last song. So I mean, I have some in the bank, but I gotta focus on this one, man. But there might be one. There might be one in the future. Maybe I want to get you in the video. You got to be in the video if I do it.
I'll bring props, man. If you got a video, I got all kind of props. I can bring those for sure. All right, before we head out, man, one thing is please share about your latest program. You just created a new program that I think a lot of business owners would like to hear about. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for this question. Yeah. So, what I did is I realized through my own personal experiences and also through my clients is I like frameworks. And so I created my own framework, Driven. And Driven is an acronym for discipline, resilience, inspiration, vision, empowerment, and nurturing. And of course, I talk about this a little bit more even through my channels. But, I haven't seen where if you don't have those five things, discipline is like figuring out like, hey man, what is the thing I can do consistently? Resilience is once I hit a roadblock, what do I do? Like, how do I bounce back and keep going? Inspiration is, I'm not talking motivation. I'm talking like, what are the things what are my go-to that keeps me going, like it keeps me inspired? Like, how do I keep inspiration going? Vision is like, what is my vision? That's pretty easy. Empowerment is what do I need to give myself a license to go do that I don't need approval? Because a lot of us, we need approval from, and a lot of times we don't even know who we need approval from. We just need approval to go do something. And it's like, no, I don't need approval. I can just go do it. And I mean all the good things. Don't go doing bad things. I'm talking good things here. But yeah, just go do it. And you do it consistently, have that discipline, and people will gravitate to you. So empower yourself. Give yourself a license to go do the thing you need to go do. And then nurturing is self-care, taking care of yourself. And that's probably the one that I'm failing at the most. I got some doctor's appointments I need to just go schedule and get done. But nurturing is whatever you need. If you need to go get a massage, you need to, whatever's going to take care of you so that you can serve others. So that's Driven. And then I mixed it with entrepreneur, so Drivenpreneur. And so Drivenpreneur is now I rebranded the podcast. I have a membership community where from startups to emerging entrepreneurs, from zero to multi-millions, come into the community. You don't have to be alone. We can do subgroups within the community too. So it's just launched, but I have some members in there. So I want to invite you to join. It's whatever you come in at, that's your lifetime rate. And it's pretty inexpensive. And then I have Driven Owner is my retainer program. And Owner also is an acronym. So I told you the Driven, but Owner is really looking at the operational side of your business. So we look at the operations, we look at your winning strategy, that's W. We're looking at your network. Who do you need to network with? We're looking at your customer experience, the excellence in experience, that's the E. And we look at your revenue growth, if that's something that you want. So I don't know if I missed any letters there, but
it's a framework, man, as far as I know. Yeah,
awesome. Good deal.
Tough to do without looking at it, man. That's impressive right there on the fly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So coach or clients that come in with me, we have that framework, and it's a retainer, so you can bring whatever you need, the thing of the day, but we're going to be looking at those overall to make sure that you have that those are looked at as you move forward towards whatever it is you're going towards.
Very cool. A little bit something for everybody. If you're a business owner, get in there and figure out what path works best for you. So
absolutely.
I know people are listening right now. So how can they follow you? How can they work with you? Give them the stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. So you can email me, Brian at brianrobinsoncoaching.com. Also, my website is brianrobinsoncoaching.com. Everything I just mentioned is on the front page of my website. My rates are on there too, the starting at rates. So I like to be as transparent as I can so that you know what you're looking at. And really, there's a simple form on there. If you want to talk with me, I give everyone a free strategy session, so let's talk for free. And there's been some, we do the strategy session and they're good to go and they go on. There's been some, we've done the strategy session, they go on, and then a few months later, they call me back and like, hey man, I need to work with you. And so we work together. And so, yeah, it's all that's there.
There you go. Check out the rates. And I'll go ahead and tell you right now, the highest rate on there is the one where he doesn't wear the hat. That's the highest rated one. Absolutely. You got to pay extra for that now. That's a premium service right there. Brian, appreciate you coming on here, man. I know you're helping a lot of people in the community. I love, collaborating with you on stuff. We're going to figure out some more projects we can figure out to work out together on, man. But thanks for what you're doing out there, and keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thank you for what you're doing too. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be on your podcast here.
Always cool to hang out with you. If you guys are listening right now, please share this episode with somebody that needs to know Coach B Rob right here. Someone needs him in his life that he can help him out. Hey, if nothing else, take him up on that free strategy call. Like I said, it may be the thing you need just to get you going, get you jump started and off and running, or maybe you'll need his service as well. But either way, have that conversation. No risk, none of that. So go check that out. It's all reward. So go check him out.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the work you're doing out there, man. We'll see you guys next week on the Huntsville Hustle Podcast.